Hey guys, welcome to Starting Out Solitary. I'm your Thursday host, Matt, and today we're talking about like LGBTQ influences and their parts in paganism or in the pagan community, let's say. So it should be interesting. So I think what makes our relationship, let's say, with the LGBTQ community is that we not only are we very accepting, we're not just tolerating LGBTQ people, but we see them as a huge asset to what we are collectively. Because we understand, I think, on maybe a subconscious level, it's not so much talked about, but maybe it is, I don't know, that they are very beneficial because they just naturally are able to transcend this sort of conformity that we have to gender norms and to, I don't know, a lot of norms in general that sometimes keep us from seeing beyond what is just told. What's more interesting is that if we're going to look back historically, most shamans and basically every religion worldwide it is able to express themselves in a way that I think today's modern day queer individual can, is that they're able to transcend, because they're able to transcend these norms, they're able to get in touch through things without having to have that filter there in order for them to categorize things. They're more receptive and accepting and understanding of a lot of things through spirit that I think are just incredible. I think with this topic, really what I want to focus on is maybe androgyny. And I think it's really interesting to look at also the ancient Egyptians where beauty was godliness, and in order for you to show how spiritually and intellectually advanced and evolved you were, especially amongst royals, you had to express yourself in a way that was extremely androgynous, for lack of a better word. I know this is like a really hot button word, but for lack of a better word, ancient Egyptians were really trannied out. They were very, very expressive in terms of how they were just able to blend these lines of what it meant to be masculine and what it meant to be feminine without forgetting the roles of the anatomies and of the physical body. They were able to transcend it without having to ignore the fact that, there are anatomical differences. The most interesting example of this is Amun. I don't know how to pronounce it, but as Amun, the god, the Egyptian god, is really interesting to look at when it comes to androgyny in ancient Egypt. And also because I am a fashion person, fashion right now, the next big frontier, which is just starting right now, it has been around for a little bit, but it's in its inception stages, is really androgyny, is really how you express that. And you have the bigger names that are coming out right now, the people that are really gaining notoriety, are people who are bringing out extremely interesting, not boring, but interesting ideas of how to express androgyny. And these are people like Rad Harani, Gypsy Sport, J.W. Anderson. I think Margiela also had a really interesting sort of androgynous collection that came out recently. And there's so many more. I mean, it's such a thing now. It's really a way that I think people are choosing to physically express spiritual maturity in a way. It's interesting to look at. Um, at least that's how I'm seeing it. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. And if we were to look back at the beatniks, you know, they wore more or less the same thing, whether they were men or women, because um, they wanted to get back past the sort of opulence and expression um, that society pushed on them. This all comes at a cost, though. I think in today's society, because we are so desperate to be seen and represented, and usually what that means is it means being marketed to, it means being represented in the media and stuff like that. And what happens is that people think that's enough. What happens is that now you have a bunch of different people with a bunch of different ideologies and a bunch of different lifestyles sort of being represented in the media, just being thrown out there, and without really any depth or substance as to why they are the way that they are. And what happens is that now there's like this major resistance, is that people don't really know how to react to it. And also, it really bothers me that in today's society, you're only seen as a human being. You're really only seen, is if really only seen, really, just period, is if you are marketed to, if you are a consumer. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you are, you know, gay, you're being marketed to by Axe because they want you to buy their body sprays or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that. It reminds me of that piece by Jenny Holzer that says, "I am, therefore I shop," or "I shop, therefore I am," or something. And it's kind of a fucked up little part of this that just bothers me a lot. It's almost like you're seen as a consumer first, and you're not seen as a human being. Like one does not equal the other. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's like annoying. It's really annoying. You know, we're not recognizing people as human beings, but we're recognizing them as consumers and saying that that's the same thing when it's not. That ties into paganism because it's spiritual detrimental. You know, it's a serious crime against humanity to police these things, and to police them and control them through money. It's like they're willing to make you a trope. They're willing to make you feel represented for their pleasure, but they're not willing to accept you for what you are, which is just a human being who happens to have a different attraction to somebody else. And I think also another really interesting example of this is sort of like lesbian porn, is that it's a big known fact that men like to watch lesbian porn more than they like just normal straight porn. But what you see is that you don't actually get to see real lesbians doing their thing. Is what you get to see is these porn actresses with, you know, red acrylic coke nails, and that's somehow acceptable because that's like a fantasy of, you know, it's just a fantasy that's able to sell, but the reality of it is much different. And not only is it much different, but it's actually sort of looked down upon, and you know, and it's just it's a little weird there, and I think that needs to be paid attention to. So that's it. Those are my thoughts on the matter. I feel like I haven't made a really, like, I feel like I haven't made a video in a really long time. I think I skipped one of my days, and I apologize for that, you guys. Um, but thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.